I'm Amber Wilson, 32 years old, and I've always been the responsible sister. My younger sister Madison, though, she's the family darling who gets away with everything. When she announced her 30th birthday celebration, I contributed $5,200 to make it special. I thought this would finally help us bond as adults. Instead, I discovered the painful truth about our relationship through a social media post that changed everything. "You're not invited, it's only for those who matter and VIPs," she said, laughing as she deleted me from the guest list. I just replied, "Perfect." Before I continue with my story, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe to see how I turned this betrayal into the most satisfying lesson my sister ever learned. Growing up with Madison was always challenging. From the moment she was born when I was just 2 years old, the dynamic in our home shifted. She was the baby with bouncing blonde curls and a smile that could melt the sternest heart, while I was the practical one with straight brown hair and a serious demeanor. Our parents, Linda and Robert Wilson, adore her from day one. Not that they didn't love me, they did, but Madison had a special place in their hearts that seemed unreachable for me. As children, the pattern was established early. When Madison broke my science project the night before it was due, Mom said, "She's just curious, Amber. Don't be so uptight." When she borrowed my clothes without asking and returned them stained, Dad laughed and said, "Sharing is caring, kiddo." By the time we reached high school, I had become accustomed to being the one who had to understand, forgive, and accommodate. I focused on academics and responsibility, graduating with honors and earning a scholarship to a prestigious university. Madison focused on social status and popularity, barely scraping by with a C average, but being voted most likely to become famous in our yearbook. Our parents attended every one of her cheerleading competitions, but missed my debate team finals because Madison needed help picking out a prom dress. After college, I worked my way up to become a marketing executive at a respected firm in the city. My hard work paid off with a comfortable salary, a nice apartment, and a structured, stable life. Madison, meanwhile, bounced from one passion project to another, a jewelry line that fizzled after 3 months, a lifestyle blog that she abandoned after getting bored, a stint as a yoga instructor that ended when she decided getting up early wasn't aligned with her energy. Each failed venture was funded by our parents, who called them investments in her creative spirit. Despite the financial support she received, Madison always seemed to be broke when important bills came due. I lost count of how many times I covered her rent or car payment when she called in tears, promising to pay me back as soon as her new project takes off. The money never returned, and my resentment grew alongside my bank statements. The tension between us reached a breaking point 3 years ago when I refused to loan her $2,000 for a life-changing opportunity that turned out to be a multi-level marketing scheme. She didn't speak to me for months, telling our parents I was toxic and jealous of her potential. Mom called me weekly, urging me to apologize for being so harsh with my sister. I held my ground for once, and our relationship remained distant but civil at family gatherings. Then, 6 months ago, Madison reached out with what seemed like genuine remorse. Over coffee, she admitted that some of her choices hadn't been the best and that she valued my stability and wisdom. "I miss having my big sister in my life," she said, eyes glistening. "I want us to be close again." I was skeptical, but also hopeful. Maybe at 29, she was finally maturing. We started rebuilding our relationship with small steps, weekly phone calls, occasional shopping trips, even a sister's weekend at a nearby spa. Things felt better than they had in years. When she excitedly announced her plans for a 30th birthday celebration, I saw it as an opportunity to solidify our new bond. "It's going to be amazing," she gushed over brunch. "I'm thinking of renting the Magnolia Hall downtown. They have that gorgeous terrace overlooking the city. It'll be the event of the season." My boyfriend Ryan was immediately concerned when I told him about Madison's plans. We'd been dating for 2 years, and he'd witnessed enough of the Madison drama to be wary. "Just be careful," he warned as we prepared dinner in our kitchen. "Remember what happened with the Christmas gifts last year? You spent hundreds, and she gave you a candle she got for free from her friend's shop." This is different, I insisted, chopping vegetables with perhaps too much force. She's changing, and it's a milestone birthday. I want to support her. Ryan simply raised an eyebrow and wisely changed the subject. In retrospect, I should have paid more attention to his concern. But hope is a powerful thing, especially when it comes to family. I truly believed that this time, things would be different. Little did I know that Madison's birthday celebration would indeed mark a turning point in our relationship, just not in the way I had imagined. Madison's vision for her birthday expanded with each conversation we had. What started as a simple gathering with good friends quickly evolved into an extravaganza worthy of a celebrity. I found the perfect venue, she announced during one of our sister lunches in early March. The Magnolia Hall has that vintage glamour vibe I'm going for, and they can accommodate up to 150 guests. 150 people? I nearly choked on my salad. I thought this was going to be intimate. Madison waved her hand dismissively. Well, I can't leave anyone out. That would be rude. Plus, the minimum booking is for 100 guests anyway. When she mentioned the cost, I felt my stomach tighten. The venue alone was $3,500 for a Saturday night. But Madison had already put down a non-refundable deposit of $500, or so she claimed, and was clearly excited. The package includes basic decorations, but I want to upgrade to their Enchanted Evening theme with custom lighting and floral arrangements, she explained, scrolling through photos on her phone. It's only $700 extra for something truly memorable. Over the next few weeks, the expenses continued to pile up. A DJ who specialized in curated musical experiences for $800, a photo booth with custom props for $350, specialty cocktails named after Madison for an additional per-person fee, and a 3-tier custom cake that cost more than my first car payment. The food is where we can save, Madison assured me. I've found this amazing new catering company that's offering a discount because they want to get established in the event scene. The discount still put the food at $65 per person, not including the specialty cocktails or champagne toast. With each new addition, I expressed concern about the mounting costs, but Madison always had the same response. It's a milestone birthday, Amber. Don't you want me to have the celebration I deserve? After weeks of planning and escalating expenses, Madison finally approached the subject I'd been dreading. So, about the financial side of things, she began, stirring her mimosa during our Sunday brunch. Mom and Dad are contributing $3,000, which is super generous. And I've saved up about $4,000 myself. I did the mental math. Even with $7,000, they were still far short of the total, which by my calculation had reached well over $15,000. I was hoping you might be able to help with some of the costs, she continued, giving me her practiced puppy dog eyes. You're so good with money, and your job pays really well. Madison, I don't know, I hedged. Ryan and I are saving for a trip to Europe this fall. Please, Amber? She reached across the table to squeeze my hand. This would mean so much to me. It's not just a party. It's a chance for us to show everyone how we've grown as sisters. I want you to be part of this special day. The mention of our improved relationship was the clincher. After years of distance, the idea of publicly celebrating our sisterhood was appealing. After discussing it with Ryan, who was supportive despite his reservations, I agreed to contribute $5,200, the exact amount I had set aside for our European vacation. We can always go next year, Ryan said, kissing my forehead. If this is important to you, it's important to me. I transferred the money to Madison the following day, feeling both anxious and hopeful. She responded with a flurry of excited texts and heart emojis, promising this would be the best investment in our relationship. For the next 2 weeks, I was actively involved in the planning process. Madison added me to email chains with vendors, asked my opinion on menu selections, and even suggested we go shopping together for our dresses. I began to feel that my contribution wasn't just financial. I was genuinely part of this celebration. Then, gradually, things began to change. Madison started forgetting to include me in email exchanges. My calls about planning details went to voicemail. When we did speak, she was vague about progress, saying everything was totally under control, and I shouldn't worry my pretty little head about it. I chalked it up to pre-event stress until I noticed something odd. Madison had created a private Instagram group for birthday planning that I wasn't invited to join. When I mentioned it casually, she claimed it was just for logistical stuff and boring details that I wouldn't be interested in. Still, I wanted to believe in our newfound closeness. I wanted to believe that my sister valued my contribution, both financial and emotional, to her special day. I wanted to believe that the $5,200 I had sacrificed was strengthening our bond rather than just funding another of Madison's self-centered spectacles. I was about to discover just how wrong I was. The revelation came on a random Tuesday evening. I was scrolling through Instagram while waiting for my dinner to heat up when I noticed a post from Taylor, Madison's best friend since high school. It was a screenshot of what appeared to be a private message from my sister with a caption, "Can't wait for the event of the season. At Madison Wilson's 30th is going to be epic. Hashtag VIPS only." The screenshot showed a message from Madison that made my blood run cold. "Make sure you arrive by 8 p.m. for the champagne welcome. We're keeping it exclusive this year, only VIPs and family who actually matter. It's going to be the social event everyone talks about." At first, I thought I was misinterpreting. Surely my sister wasn't implying I wasn't family who mattered. But curiosity led me deeper, and I found more posts from mutual friends referencing Madison's exclusive birthday celebration and the carefully curated guest list. With growing unease, I called Madison. When she didn't answer, I texted, "Hey, need to talk about some birthday details. Can you call me back?" An hour later, she responded that she was swamped, but could meet for coffee the next morning. That night was one of the longest of my life. I tossed and turned, alternating between giving Madison the benefit of the doubt and facing the sinking feeling that I was being played yet again. The coffee shop was crowded when I arrived the next morning. Madison was already there, looking immaculate in designer sunglasses and a silk blouse that I recognized as being well beyond her budget. "I saw Taylor's post," I said after ordering, skipping the small talk, "about your birthday being for VIPs and family who matter." Madison's expression shifted almost imperceptibly before she forced a laugh. "Oh, that. Taylor is such a drama queen. She loves making things sound more exclusive than they are. So, I'm still invited, right? Still part of the planning? Because it seems like I've been left out of most decisions lately." She sipped her latte, leaving a perfect lipstick print on the cup. "Well, about that. I've been meaning to talk to you." "About what?" "The thing is, Amber, the venue had to reduce capacity because of some boring fire code thing. We had to cut the guest list pretty significantly."
Især her.
"And I'm one of the cuts? After contributing over $5,000? She had the audacity to look annoyed. "Don't be so transactional. Your contribution was to help your sister have an amazing birthday. It wasn't a ticket purchase." "Madison, that's not." "Besides," she interrupted, "you've never really fit in with my friends. You'd probably be uncomfortable the whole time, checking your watch, judging everyone for having too much fun. This is actually better for both of us." I felt like I'd been slapped. "Show me the guest list." "What? The guest list? Show it to me right now." With obvious reluctance, she pulled out her phone and opened a spreadsheet. As she scrolled, I saw names of people she barely knew, colleagues she'd met once, friends of friends, even her eyelash technician, all categorized as confirmed. "Where's my name?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the rage building inside me. Madison's thumb hesitated over the screen before scrolling to a tab labeled Removed. There it was, Amber Wilson, sister, with a note beside it. Contributed $5,200, financial obligation fulfilled. Financial obligation fulfilled? I read aloud. "Is that all I am to you? A bank account?" "Don't be so dramatic." Madison rolled her eyes. "I just meant that you've done your part. The money really helped. So you took my money, which was meant to be part of a shared experience, and then deliberately excluded me from the event." She shrugged, her expression hardening. "Look, it's my birthday. I get to decide who's there. And let's be honest, you and I don't exactly move in the same circles. We're sisters, Madison. We're family. Then came the words that would change our relationship forever. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. You're not invited. It's only for those who matter and VIPs. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too hot. Madison continued, seemingly energized by my shock. I mean, what did you expect? That your money would buy you social status? That's not how it works. I've built my brand carefully, and I need to protect it. This party is basically a networking event for me. It could launch my influencer career. I can't have you there in your sensible shoes and department store dress bringing down the vibe. I sat in stunned silence as she continued justifying her betrayal. Memories flashed through my mind. Madison ruining my high school graduation party by making a scene about not being recognized in my speech. Madison borrowing my car in college and returning it with an empty tank and a dented fender. Madison introducing me to her friends as my sister, the boring one. A strange calm settled over me as I realized this was a new behavior. It was simply the most expensive lesson I'd received in who my sister truly was. I see, I said finally, interrupting her monologue about how I just wouldn't understand the importance of social media presence. So, you've already spent my money, and now you're telling me I'm not welcome at the event I helped fund. Don't be so cold about it. It's just business. Besides, you can still see pictures online after. I stood up, gathering my purse. Perfect. Madison looked confused by my response. Perfect? That's it. That's it. I confirmed, my voice level. Thank you for being so clear about where we stand. Where are you going? Amber, she called as I walked toward the door. I turned back briefly. I need to make some calls. As I left the coffee shop, my phone buzzed with a notification. Madison had just posted a countdown to her birthday bash with the hashtag VIPs only. The carefully filtered image showed her toasting with champagne, wearing a birthday queen sash that I had paid for. For the first time in our relationship, I wasn't going to let her behavior slide. Not this time. Not with my $5,200 funding her ego trip. My response would need to be perfectly executed. And I knew exactly where to start. The 20-minute drive home from the coffee shop was a blur. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, but my mind was surprisingly clear. By the time I pulled into my apartment complex, a plan was forming. Ryan was working from home that day. He took one look at my face as I walked in and immediately closed his laptop. What happened? He asked, leading me to the couch. I recounted the entire conversation with Madison, my voice growing steadier as I reached the part about being deleted from the guest list. She actually put financial obligation fulfilled next to your name? Ryan's expression darkened. That's cold, even for Madison. I've been such a fool, I said, the reality of the situation sinking in. All these years, I've made excuses for her behavior. I've bailed her out, forgiven her, tried to understand her. And this is how she sees me, as an ATM with legs. Ryan wrapped an arm around me. What do you want to do? We could try to get the money back, maybe through small claims court. I shook my head. No, that would take months. Her birthday is in 10 days. So, we just let her get away with it? Again? Something in his tone, the gentle emphasis on again, crystallized my thoughts. This wasn't just about the money or even this particular betrayal. This was about years of enabling behavior that had allowed Madison to treat me as less than. No, I said firmly. Not this time. I need to check something first. I opened my email and searched for communications regarding the Magnolia Hall. Sure enough, there were several exchanges where I had been included before being gradually removed from the thread. In one of the earliest emails, the venue coordinator had sent a contract listing both Madison and me as the responsible parties, requiring both our signatures since I was contributing financially. Look at this. I showed Ryan the contract. She had me sign as a financial guarantor. That means I'm still legally tied to this event. A slow smile spread across Ryan's face. So, you have as much right to make changes as she does. Exactly. I pulled out my phone. I need to make some calls. My first call was to the Magnolia Hall. The coordinator, Jessica, was sympathetic when I explained that there had been a change of plans. "Let me understand correctly," she said. "You want to cancel the entire event, not postpone or reschedule?" "That's right," I confirmed. "According to our contract, either party can cancel with a 50% penalty if it's within 2 weeks of the event. Since I'm one of the signatories, and I'm also the one who made the largest payment, I believe I have the authority to do this." After reviewing the contract, Jessica agreed. "Yes, Ms. Wilson, you do have that right. I should inform you that the 50% penalty means you'll only receive half of your deposit back." "I understand. Please process the cancellation and refund the recoverable portion to my credit card, not to Madison Wilson's account." Next, I called the catering company. They were less understanding until I mentioned potential legal issues if they continued with an event that one of the contractual parties had officially canceled. The mention of possible litigation worked wonders for their cooperation. The DJ, the photo booth company, and the cake baker received similar calls. By mid-afternoon, I had systematically dismantled every aspect of Madison's elaborate birthday celebration. The only vendor I couldn't reach was the decorator, but I figured the venue cancellation would take care of that issue. My final step was the most satisfying. I drafted a simple, factual message. "Attention! The event scheduled for April 15th at the Magnolia Hall has been postponed. Further information will be provided at a later date. We apologize for any inconvenience." I sent this message to every person on Madison's guest list, a list I had access to from our earlier planning sessions. I made sure to blind copy everyone so no one could see who else received the notification. For good measure, I also posted it in the comment section of Madison's latest Instagram countdown, then immediately blocked her before she could delete it. Throughout this process, my phone had been buzzing with incoming calls and texts from Madison. I ignored them all. This was one conversation that would happen on my terms, not hers. When I finally finished, I felt a curious mixture of emotions: vindication, certainly, but also sadness and a strange sense of freedom. Ryan watched me set my phone down with concern in his eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. "I'm not sure," I admitted. "Part of me feels terrible for being so calculated. The other part feels like I should have stood up to her years ago." "You gave her chance after chance to treat you with basic respect," Ryan reminded me. "She made her choices." "I know." I leaned against him, suddenly exhausted. "I just wish things could have been different between us." That evening, as Madison's calls became increasingly frantic, I documented everything with screenshots and recordings. I forwarded all vendor cancellation confirmations to my email and printed copies of the contracts showing my name as a responsible party. If this escalated, I would be prepared. Before going to bed, I sent one final email to myself with all the evidence of Madison's betrayal: the screenshot of Taylor's post, the spreadsheet with my name listed under removed, and a voice recording I'd secretly made during our coffee shop conversation. I wasn't sure if I would need any of it, but it felt good to have proof that I wasn't overreacting. As I tried to fall asleep that night, I remembered Madison's smirk as she'd said those cutting words. "It's only for those who matter and VIPs." The memory no longer hurt. Instead, it reinforced my resolve. For once, Madison was going to experience the consequences of her actions, and I would be there to witness it. The morning of what would have been Madison's 30th birthday celebration dawned bright and clear. I had slept surprisingly well, considering the storm of notifications that had lit up my phone throughout the night. Madison had called 27 times, left 13 voicemails, and sent over 40 increasingly desperate text messages. I had read them all but responded to none. The texts ranged from outraged, "How dare you interfere with my birthday," to manipulative, "Mom is so upset she might need to go to the hospital," to desperately placating, "We can work this out. Please just call me back." The voicemails followed a similar pattern, her voice growing more frantic with each one. Ryan brought me coffee in bed, a concerned look on his face. "Your parents called me since you're not answering your phone. They're pretty upset." I took a sip of coffee, gathering my thoughts. "What did you tell them?" "Just that they should talk to you directly." I didn't want to get in the middle of it. I nodded gratefully. "Thanks. I'll deal with them later. I checked the time. 10:30 a.m. Madison should be discovering the canceled venue right about now. As if on cue, my phone lit up with her name. This time, I answered and put it on speaker. What have you done? Madison's voice was shrill with panic. I'm at the Magnolia Hall, and they're saying the event is canceled. My birthday is ruined. Hello to you too, Madison. I replied calmly. Fix this.
Right now.
Call them back and tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. You made it very clear that I'm not family who matters, despite my $5,200 contribution. So I decided to withdraw my support, financial and otherwise. There was a moment of stunned silence before she exploded again. You vindictive bitch. You've always been jealous of me. Mom and Dad are going to disown you when they find out what you've done. I think they should know exactly what happened. I agreed. All of it, including how you took my money and then deliberately excluded me from the event. It's my birthday. I get to decide who comes. And it's my money. I get to decide how it's spent. I could hear her breathing heavily on the other end of the line. When she spoke again, her voice had shifted to the sweet, cajoling tone she used when trying to manipulate someone. Amber, please. We can work this out. I'll put you back on the guest list. You can bring Ryan. It'll be fun. Just call the venue and fix this. It's not too late. Actually, it is too late. All the vendors have been notified. The guests have been told the event is postponed. There's no birthday party happening today. Her facade cracked. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for me? Taylor just showed up, and I had to tell her everything's canceled. My social media followers are waiting for updates. My influencer career could be over before it even starts. I almost laughed at the absurdity of her priorities. I'm sorry you're embarrassed. I was pretty embarrassed too when I found out my sister saw me as nothing more than a walking checkbook. That's not fair. Goodbye, Madison. I think we've said everything that needs to be said. I hung up as she was mid-sentence, something I'd never dared to do before. The phone immediately rang again, but this time it was my mother. Amber Jean Wilson. What on earth have you done? Mom's voice held that familiar note of disappointment that had always made me crumble in the past. Your sister is absolutely devastated. How could you ruin her special day like this? Taking a deep breath, I replied with more confidence than I felt. Mom, I'm going to send you some screenshots and recordings. Before you pass judgment, I think you should see exactly what happened between Madison and me. I don't need to see anything. Madison has already told us how if you want to have any kind of relationship with me going forward, you'll look at the evidence I'm sending you. Then we can talk. I ended the call and immediately forwarded everything to both my parents. The social media posts, the spreadsheet with my name under removed, and most damning of all, the audio recording of Madison saying those cruel words at the coffee shop. For the next few hours, my phone was blissfully silent. Ryan suggested we go out for brunch to escape the tension, and I gratefully agreed. As we were finishing our meals, my phone buzzed with a text from my father, typically the more reasonable of my parents. We need to talk as a family. Can you come over at 5 o'clock? I showed the message to Ryan. What do you think? I think you should go, he said after a moment's consideration. But I'm coming with you. You're not facing them alone. By the time we arrived at my parents' suburban home that evening, I'd steeled myself for the worst. To my surprise, Madison's car wasn't in the driveway. Mom opened the door with a tight expression. Her eyes were red-rimmed, suggesting she'd been crying. Dad stood behind her, his face uncharacteristically solemn. Where's Madison? I asked as we stepped inside. She refused to come, Dad answered. Said she wouldn't be in the same room as you. We settled in the living room, the tension palpable. After an awkward silence, Mom spoke first. We listened to the recording. Her voice was quiet. And we saw the spreadsheet with your name removed. I waited, not trusting myself to speak. Dad cleared his throat. We had no idea Madison had uninvited you after taking your money. She told us there was a misunderstanding about the guest list, and you overreacted. It wasn't a misunderstanding, I said firmly. It was deliberate. And it's not the first time she's treated me this way, just the most expensive. Mom flinched. We've always tried to treat you both equally. I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped. Mom, that's simply not true. Madison has always been the favorite, and we all know it. Every time she's hurt me, disappointed me, or taken advantage of me, you've made excuses for her. That's not fair, Mom protested weakly. Isn't it? When she ruined my high school graduation party, who did you comfort? When she borrowed my car in college and returned it damaged, who did you defend? When she forgot to include me in family photos last Christmas, who did you tell to stop being so sensitive? My father looked genuinely troubled. We never meant to make you feel less important, Amber. I know you didn't mean to, I acknowledged, softening slightly. But that was the effect. And it allowed Madison to believe she could treat me however she wanted without consequences. So this cancellation was about punishing her? Mom asked. No. I shook my head. It was about finally standing up for myself. I refused to financially support an event I wasn't welcome to attend. That's not punishment, it's having healthy boundaries. Ryan, who had been silently supportive beside me, spoke up. Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, Amber has spent years trying to have a good relationship with Madison. This wasn't a rash decision or an attempt at revenge. It was the reasonable response of someone who was being exploited. My parents exchanged glances, seemingly at a loss. Finally, Dad nodded slowly. You're right. We've enabled Madison's behavior for too long. He looked at me with genuine regret.
I'm sorry, Amber.
We should have been more aware of the dynamic between you two. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them back. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. What happens now? Mom asked. Madison is still our daughter too. We can't just cut her off. I'm not asking you to choose between us, I assured her. I just need you to stop making excuses for her when she treats people poorly. She needs to face consequences like an adult. We talked for another hour, revisiting painful memories and acknowledging patterns that had persisted for decades. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it felt necessary, like lancing a wound that had been festering for years. As Ryan and I prepared to leave, my father asked the question that had probably been on both my parents' minds. Will you try to work things out with Madison? I considered my answer carefully. I'm open to having a relationship with her, but only if it's built on mutual respect. The ball is in her court. On the drive home, Ryan reached over to squeeze my hand. You were amazing in there. I'm proud of you. Thanks for having my back, I replied, feeling lighter than I had in years. It's not over yet, though. Madison isn't going to let this go easily. No, he agreed. But for the first time, she's not holding all the cards. That night, I unblocked Madison on social media, out of curiosity. Her accounts were uncharacteristically silent, no posts, no stories, no updates. The only activity was a vague status from Taylor. Sometimes the universe forces us to reevaluate who deserves our loyalty. Major revelations today. I smiled to myself as I turned off my phone. Madison had spent years cultivating her image at the expense of authentic relationships. Now that facade was beginning to crumble, and I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry about it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, I would sleep peacefully knowing I had finally broken free from a lifetime of manipulation. 3 days after the canceled party, my mother called to arrange what she diplomatically termed a family discussion. Madison had apparently been staying at our parents' house, refusing to return to her apartment where friends might see her in her current state of humiliation. She's agreed to talk, Mom said, sounding exhausted. Your father, and I think it's important to resolve this situation before it causes a permanent rift. I agreed to the meeting but set my conditions clearly. I'll come, but I won't be gaslit or manipulated. If Madison can't acknowledge what she did, there's nothing to discuss. Ryan offered to accompany me again, but this time I declined. I need to handle this myself, I explained. But thank you for always being ready to support me. The atmosphere in my parents' house that Sunday afternoon was tense enough to cut with a knife. Madison sat on the far end of the sofa, eyes red and puffy, her typically immaculate appearance noticeably disheveled. She didn't look up when I entered the living room. Mom and Dad sat in matching armchairs, looking like referees about to officiate a particularly volatile match. I took the other end of the sofa, maintaining maximum distance from my sister. "Thank you both for coming," Dad began formally. "We're here to address the situation regarding Madison's birthday celebration and to hopefully find a path forward as a family." Madison immediately seized the opening. "I've been absolutely devastated," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "My birthday was completely ruined. My friends keep asking what happened, and I've been too embarrassed to even show my face in public." I remained silent, watching her performance with detached interest. "Amber," Mom prompted when I didn't respond, "would you like to share your perspective?" "I think the evidence I sent you covered my perspective pretty thoroughly," I replied calmly. "Madison took my money, explicitly excluded me from the event, and then got upset when I withdrew my financial support." Madison's had snapped up, her tearful demeanor instantly replaced with indignation. "You did it to humiliate me. You could have just asked for your money back instead of canceling everything. Would you have returned my money if I'd asked?" I challenged. Her momentary hesitation was answer enough. "That's what I thought," I continued. "Besides, you never gave me the chance. You made your decision unilaterally, without any discussion. I did the same." "Girls, please," Dad interjected. "Let's try to have a constructive conversation." Madison turned to our parents with fresh tears. "See how cold she is? She doesn't even care that she ruined the most important day of my life." "The most important day of your life?" I echoed incredulously. "It was a birthday party, Madison, not your wedding or the birth of your child. And it was only ruined because you decided to exclude the person who paid for a third of it." "I was going to invite you eventually," she protested. "I just needed to finalize some details first." I pulled out my phone. "Should I play the recording again? The one where you specifically said I wasn't invited because I'm not family who matters." Madison flushed. "You took that out of context. What possible context would make that okay?" Dad asked quietly, surprising us all. His tone wasn't accusatory. It seemed like he genuinely wanted to understand. Madison floundered, looking to Mom for support. But for once, our mother remained neutral, her expression giving nothing away. "I was stressed about the planning," Madison finally muttered. "I said things I didn't mean." "Did you mean it when you categorized me as financial obligation fulfilled on your spreadsheet?" I asked. She had no answer for that. Dad sighed heavily. "Madison, we've seen the evidence. It's pretty clear that you took advantage of your sister's generosity. So you're taking her side?" Madison's voice rose with indignation. "After everything I've been through?" "This isn't about sides," Mom said firmly. "It's about acknowledging hurtful behavior and taking responsibility for it." I nearly fell off the sofa in shock. Never in my life had I heard my mother hold Madison accountable in this way. Madison must have been equally shocked because she gaped at our mother before bursting into genuine tears. Not the calculated, manipulative tears she usually employed, but messy, ugly sobbing. "I don't know what's wrong with me," she choked out between sobs. "I keep ruining everything. I thought the party would make people finally see me as successful and important, and then it all fell apart, and everyone knows I'm a failure." The raw honesty in her breakdown caught me off guard. For the first time, I glimpsed the insecurity behind her arrogant facade. Dad moved to sit beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Madison, your worth isn't determined by parties or social media or what people think of you." "But I'm 30, and what do I have to show for it?" she wailed. "Amber has a great career and a stable relationship. I have nothing but a string of failed projects and maxed out credit cards." "You have a family who loves you," Mom said gently. "But love doesn't mean enabling harmful behavior. We've done you a disservice by not setting better boundaries over the years." Madison looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. "What are you saying?" "We're saying," Dad continued, "that we'll always love and support you. But things need to change. Starting with how you treat your sister and how you manage your finances." For several moments, Madison was silent, absorbing their words. When she finally spoke, her voice was small but steadier. I don't know how to change. I've been this way for so long. You could start by apologizing to Amber, Mom suggested. A real apology, not an excuse. Madison turned to me, her expression more vulnerable than I'd seen since we were children. I'm sorry, Amber. Not just for the birthday thing, but for everything. For taking you for granted. For treating you like you didn't matter when you've always been there for me. I studied her face, searching for signs of manipulation but finding none. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot to hear you acknowledge it. I want to pay you back, she continued. The full $5,200. I don't know how long it will take, but I promise I will. Actually, Dad interjected, your mother and I have been discussing that. We think it's appropriate for us to help Madison repay you immediately, and then she can work off the debt with us. Madison looked startled. But no arguments, Mom said firmly. This is part of taking responsibility. You'll help around the house and with Dad's business until the debt is paid. I was touched by my parents' gesture, but shook my head. I appreciate that, but I think it's important for Madison to repay me directly, even if it takes time. At least let us cover the non-refundable deposits you lost, Dad insisted. That part is on us for enabling the situation in the first place. After some discussion, we reached a compromise. My parents would cover the lost deposits, about $1,000, and Madison would repay the remaining $4,200 directly to me through monthly installments. I'll get a real job, Madison promised, looking both terrified and determined. No more influencer dreams or get-rich-quick schemes. You don't have to give up on your creative aspirations, I clarified. Just approach them more realistically, alongside stable employment. As the conversation continued, we began to tentatively rebuild bridges that had been crumbling for years. There were moments of tension and old patterns threatening to resurface, but each time, one of us, often surprisingly, my parents, would gently redirect. Before I left that evening, Madison asked if we could talk privately. In the kitchen, away from our parents, she seemed smaller somehow, more like the little sister I protected when we were children. I've been awful to you, she admitted. I think I've been jealous of how effortlessly you succeed at everything. I laughed softly. It's not effortless, Madison. I work incredibly hard. I know. That's another thing I've envied, your work ethic. She twisted her fingers nervously. Do you think we'll ever be close? Like real sisters? The question held such genuine hope that I felt my residual anger softening. I think we can work toward it, but it will take time and consistent effort from both of us. I'd like that, she said simply. As Ryan and I drove home later, I recounted the conversation. It felt different this time, I concluded. Like, she might actually be ready to change. Are you ready to forgive her? He asked carefully. I considered the question seriously. Not completely, not yet. But I'm ready to give her the chance to earn my forgiveness. That's a start. The next day, a package arrived at my apartment, a simple potted plant with a card in Madison's handwriting. Growing something new takes patience and care. I'm ready to put in the work. Thank you for not giving up on me completely. It was a small gesture, but significant coming from someone whose apologies had always been grand, showy, and ultimately empty. This quiet acknowledgement felt more sincere than any elaborate gift could have been. Perhaps there was hope for us after all. 3 months passed, bringing summer heat and gradual healing to our fractured family. Madison had surprised everyone, perhaps herself most of all, by following through on her promises. She'd found a job as an administrative assistant at a local marketing firm, ironically, a competitor of my company, and had made 4 consistent monthly payments toward her debt. More significantly, she'd begun seeing a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and narcissistic tendencies. He doesn't let me get away with anything, she told me during one of our newly established bi-weekly coffee meetings. It's exhausting but also kind of a relief to have someone call me out on my BS. The change in her wasn't dramatic or instantaneous. She still had moments of self-absorption and occasionally fell back into manipulative habits. But there was a new self-awareness that stopped these patterns before they could fully take hold. When I pointed out an old behavior emerging, she would catch herself, take a breath, and redirect rather than becoming defensive. My parents, too, were working on changing established dynamics. They'd started their own counseling sessions to address their enabling patterns and had become more conscious of treating us equitably. The first time Mom declined Madison's request for emergency money to buy concert tickets, I nearly fell out of my chair in shock. As for me, the experience had prompted important growth. Standing up to Madison had broken a lifelong pattern of accommodation and people-pleasing that had extended beyond just my relationship with my sister. At work, I found myself more willing to advocate for my ideas and set boundaries with colleagues who had previously taken advantage of my cooperative nature. Ryan noticed the change immediately. "You carry yourself differently now," he observed one evening as we prepared dinner together. "More confidently." "I feel different," I admitted, chopping vegetables with purposeful strokes. "Like I finally know my own worth." The refunded money from Madison's canceled party had been put to good use. Rather than rescheduling our European vacation, Ryan and I had decided on a different investment, a down payment on a small house in a quiet neighborhood just outside the city. With interest rates finally stabilizing, it seemed like the perfect time to put down roots. During the house hunting process, I'd invited Madison along to see a few properties, a gesture of inclusion that wasn't lost on her. She'd been genuinely supportive, offering decorating ideas without trying to make the process about herself. When we finally found the one, a charming 3-bedroom craftsman with a backyard perfect for the garden I'd always wanted, she was among the first people we invited to see it. "This is so you," she said, running her hand along the built-in bookshelves in what would become my home office. "I can picture you reading here on rainy days." The thoughtful observation, focused on my preferences rather than how she would have done things differently, was a small but meaningful indication of her efforts to see me as an individual with my own tastes and desires. On a warm Saturday in July, my parents hosted a housewarming barbecue for us. As I watched Madison helping Dad at the grill while Ryan and Mom arranged platters of food on the patio table, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in family gatherings for years. "Penny for your thoughts," Ryan said, slipping an arm around my waist as he joined me. "I was just thinking about how different things are now," I replied. "It's not perfect, but it's so much better than I ever thought possible." Later, as twilight settled over the backyard, Madison approached me with 2 glasses of lemonade, offering one with a hesitant smile. "Can we talk for a minute?" she asked. We moved to the small bench beneath the oak tree, away from the others. Madison seemed nervous, fidgeting with her glass before finally speaking. "I've been working through some things in therapy," she began. "About why I've always been so competitive with you, and why I felt the need to exclude you from my birthday." I listened quietly, giving her space to continue. "Dr. Marshall helped me realize that I've spent my whole life feeling like I was in your shadow. You were always the smart one, the responsible one, the one everyone could count on. I was just the pretty one, the fun one, nothing substantial." She took a shaky breath. "I think I've been trying to create situations where I could feel superior to you, where I could be the center and you could be the outsider for once." The insight was surprisingly perceptive coming from Madison, who had rarely demonstrated such self-awareness. That birthday party was going to be my moment to shine, to show everyone that I was successful and important in my own right, she continued. "Having you there would have reminded me of all the ways I hadn't measured up. But excluding you the way I did, that was cruel and selfish. I see that now." "Thank you for telling me this," I said gently. "It helps me understand." "I'm not saying it excuses what I did," she clarified quickly. "Just that I'm trying to understand my own messed up motivations, so I don't keep repeating the same patterns." "That's all any of us can do," I offered. "Recognize our patterns and try to make better choices going forward." Madison smiled ruefully. "When did you get so wise?" "Probably around the time I canceled an entire birthday party with a few phone calls," I joked, and we both laughed, a genuine shared moment of humor that felt like another small step toward healing. "I've been thinking," Madison said after a comfortable silence. I want to do something special for your birthday next month. Nothing extravagant, she added quickly, seeing my expression. Just a small dinner with you, Ryan, Mom, and Dad. My treat, from my own savings, not credit cards. The offer touched me deeply. I liked that very much. As we rejoined the others, I reflected on the journey of the past few months. The painful confrontation over Madison's birthday had been a catalyst for change that none of us could have anticipated. By standing firm in my own worth, I had not only freed myself from a lifelong pattern of accommodation but had also, paradoxically, opened the door to a healthier relationship with my sister. There would still be challenges ahead. Madison's growth was real but fragile. My parents' new boundaries would be tested. My own tendency to slip back into people-pleasing would require conscious effort to overcome. But for the first time, I felt hopeful that our family could build relationships based on mutual respect rather than established roles and patterns. That night, as Ryan and I prepared for bed in our new home, I found myself filled with gratitude for the difficult but necessary confrontation that had led to so much positive change. You know, I said as we settled under the covers, in a weird way, I'm almost thankful for Madison's birthday disaster. Without it, we might have continued in the same dysfunctional patterns forever. Ryan pulled me close. Sometimes the most painful moments lead to the most important growth. Very philosophical, I teased, but I knew he was right. By refusing to accept disrespect and setting clear boundaries, I had not only stood up for myself, but had ultimately done something far more important. I had given my sister the opportunity to become a better version of herself. The journey wasn't over. Real healing never is. But as I drifted towards sleep in our new home, I felt confident that whatever challenges arose, I now had the strength and self-respect to face them authentically. Thank you all for listening to my story. If you've ever had to stand up to family members who took you for granted, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments below. Did you have to set difficult boundaries? How did it change your relationships? Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you, subscribe for more real-life stories, and share with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to stand up for themselves. Remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and others, is to refuse to participate in unhealthy patterns. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.